Hey guys, so I am back with another video today. It definitely took me longer than a week to upload, but at least it didn't take me 3 months. So I was kind of apprehensive about making this video and posting this video just because it's about applying to grad school, which I feel like this is the perfect time to upload that video because I know a lot of people are taking their GREs right now and like getting ready for the application process. A lot of people may be applying early, so I feel like this was the perfect time to upload it. But I did not really want to make this video because I feel like most people know what they have to do to get into grad school. And I honestly think these videos just like create anxiety for people. I watched a bunch of these videos when I was applying to school and it just made me so nervous. Like, I didn't do that. Maybe I should have done that. Let me just adjust this a little bit. Here we go. And I don't know, it just like created like unnecessary anxiety. So I didn't really want to post this, but I have gotten a couple of comments with people asking if I could make it. So here we are. I just want you to watch this and take it with a grain of salt. This was my personal experience and this is like my advice, but everybody is different. Like, there is a spectrum of people who get into grad school. It really has to do with you and yourself and your own personality and not so much like all these little details. I think that it just gets so far. Like, I remember, I don't know if you guys know the website, like the forum for SLPs, like SLP students. I'm sure you do. And I do not go on that. That forum just gives me anxiety. It's like Grad Cafe or something like that. It freaked me out. And I know a lot of people get their advice from there, and that's fine. But like, I remember a girl was talking about like she had a 3.3 GPA and she wanted to get into grad school. And this girl commented like, oh, since your GPA is so low. And I was like, that is not that low, a 3.3. You can definitely get into grad school with the 3.3. Are you kidding me? Like, and people are gonna read that and really take it and believe it. So that's the reason I didn't really want to make this video. But I think that for those of you who've watched me already, you do know me, you know my personality, you know my whole life story about like being a bad student and trying to become better. So I think that you'll watch this and understand that you do have to take this with a grain of salt because everybody's story is different. But with that being said, I will stop rambling and get started. So applying to SLP grad school. First thing, this is in no particular order, by the way, but for some reason, this is the most important thing, is your GPA. That sucks to say. I hate to say that like your GPA would be something that would stop you from getting into grad school. And I don't think it is something, you know, it is important to have a high GPA, but you can get into grad school without having a high GPA. You just go on ASHA, it's EdFind, and you'll see the range of different GPAs they've accepted. And a lot of them start at like 2.8, so everybody has a chance to get in. But with that being said, a majority of the grades that you're gonna see in like the average is gonna be at least around a 3.5. That's like the ideal number to have. There are absolutely schools who will not even look at you with anything lower than a 3.5, which is ridiculous, by the way. I mean, come on. But there are schools that will not look at you. But you can like look on their websites and see that stuff. Honestly, they don't really want people to apply that they're not gonna accept, I guess, because it's like reviewing another application, I guess. I don't know. But that's one thing I will say is having a high GPA, at least a 3.5, is gonna really, really make you competitive. You don't need it, but you're not gonna be as competitive without it, but you can still get in. So the second thing I said that this wasn't gonna be in any particular order, didn't I? Okay, so this isn't in a particular order. I'm literally just saying numbers just to say them. But another thing that you're really gonna wanna have that's important is a really good letter of intent or statement of purpose, whatever you wanna call it. It's arguably so that this is probably one of the most important parts of your application because This is where you get to really express yourself. You get to show the school who you are. You don't want to talk about grades too much on there. You don't want to talk about your GREs in there. Definitely don't do that. You really want to concentrate on talking about who you are, what your interests are, what parts of research are really, really interesting to you, what kind of SLP you want to be, what experiences you've had, and how they've molded you. That's what they really want to see. I think a lot of people spend a lot of time talking about grades on there, and you don't have to, because they have your transcripts from every school that you went to. You don't have to talk about grades. You can mention them, but you definitely don't want to make that the focus of your statement of intent or letter of intent, whatever it's called, because that kind of just shows like, what else are you other than grades? Like, are you only your grades, or is there more to you? Another piece of advice I have about this is do not make it too long. It says a lot more about you if you can get your point across concisely. If you have to take 5 pages to discuss who you are, that just shows, okay, you don't know how to take the most important parts of something and discuss that. And that's a skill you really, really need to have in grad school. You're going to be reading a lot of research papers. You're going to be reading a lot of different articles. If you can't pull out what's important and discuss that, that's a problem. So you want to make sure that you make your letter of intent concise and very, very important. It shouldn't be very wordy. Most of them, I don't think they want more than 250 words. I could be wrong on that. I really don't remember. Don't make it more than 2 pages double spaced. I'll say that. Okay. Another thing that's really important is your letters of recommendation. You should have at least 3. Not all schools are going to require 3, but a lot of them are. I'm assuming that most of you are going to apply to more than 2 schools. You'll probably apply to, I don't know, like 3 to 5. I don't know. I applied to 4. So, but I also know some people that applied to like 13. I guess it depends on how much money you have, because I was not applying to that many. Okay, I knew that I was only going to go to 1 school, so why would I apply to 13, you know? But anyway, so you should have at least 3 letters, and you kind of want one of them to be outside of the CSD department if you are with a background. If you have a background, if you don't have, I'm sorry, I'm like going crazy right now. If you don't have a background, then obviously you probably wouldn't have any from the CSD department. But if you do, you want to have at least 1 from outside. You don't want them all to be from CSD. In my undergrad, they only let you ask 2 CSD people because like a whole bunch of them were writing in and it took a long time, so they didn't want them to be stressed. I don't know. So I asked my psychology professor, because I minored in psychology in undergrad, and she was happy to do it. So it's really important for you to have a good relationship with your professors early on. You don't want to wait until your senior year to start kissing up to them. My earring is doing like weird things right now. Yeah, you don't want to wait until your senior year to like try to create a relationship with them. Most likely they're going to know it's because you're a senior and you're going to ask for a letter of recommendation. They're not stupid. Like, you didn't talk to me for the 4 years that you were here, and now all of a sudden you want to talk to me. I wonder why. You want to be going to office hours. You want to be discussing things. If they have like presentations, you want to be going. You want your teachers to know you from the beginning. That way they're going to have a lot more to say about you. They're going to be a lot more eager to write you a letter, and their letter is going to be a lot better. A lot of professors, not everybody obviously, but I do know of some professors that have like a simple template they use for different letters of recommendations, and they'll switch out things like the name and your GPA and switch out like little stuff, but it looks very, very similar, and it's very, very generic, and it doesn't make you look unique. It doesn't make you look that interesting, and grad schools are going to be able to tell which ones are written like uniquely, like specifically for you, and ones that are written just as like templates. And it's like, oh, I just had to get this done. Let me get it done really quick, and just like switch out your name. They're gonna know. So you want to make sure that your teacher is eager to write your letter of recommendation, and they have unique things to say about you. So another way to make sure that your professor writes you a good letter of recommendation is give them a folder including your letter of intent that you plan on sending, your resume, your transcripts, extracurricular activities you've done, and anything else you want them to write. It makes it easier for your professor to write your letter of recommendation if you basically tell them what to say. So I basically told him everything I wanted them to talk about. Like, I want you to talk about how I was a Sunday school teacher and how it challenged me. I want you to talk about blah, 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 blah. They like that because it's like, oh, well, you basically did my job for you. Like, let me just sign it and send it out. You want to give them something to talk about that makes you unique and makes it look like you really, really knew them. So those, I think, are like the most important parts of your application. You also are going to have to send your GRE scores. I have my own personal issues with the GRE. I did pretty well on them, but I think that they are really, really ridiculous, and I think it's all about the money, to be honest. Having a good idea of like the most random words in the world and like weird math that you haven't looked at since you were in 10th grade, that really doesn't show anything about what kind of SLP you're gonna be. It's crazy. And a lot of schools, well, I shouldn't say a lot, a good amount of schools don't even ask for them because it really doesn't tell you that much about the student. Like, I know people who had like 4.0s in undergrad and then did terrible on the GREs because it's a standardized test, and if it's not standardized to you, you're not going to do well on it. So you should still study. I took probably about a month to study. I would recommend taking it in the summer, which is now. Don't wait until the fall to take them like me, because you're going to be very, very stressed. Trying to study for those and taking classes, don't do that. I did that and it did not go over well for me. I was very, very stressed out. So the most important part of the GRE is going to be your writing score. You want at least a 4. So make sure you keep like having practice essays. If you can have people review them, that would be awesome. Unfortunately, that's not always likely, but just keep practicing. But I would say that the GRE is probably the least important part of your application. I don't think there's anything that could be less important than that. And then finally, actually, not finally, your resume. It depends on if you're using SID-SACS or not for your to like send in your application. Some schools are going to ask for SID-SACS and you're going to put all of your experiences on there, and then you may not have to send in your resume. But if you don't have that, then you would want to send in your resume to the school. And I think also some schools want to see you add your resume on there, even if you already have the other experiences on SID-SACS. I don't know how to say that, by the way, so don't judge. I never knew how to say that word. I just avoided saying it pretty much. But you want to have an updated resume. All resumes are going to look different. So your job resume and your academic resume are not going to be the same. So don't just pick up the resume you have from your job and try to send it to schools. No bueno. You want to have your GPA. You want to have your volunteer experience on there. You want to have your academic experience, not like the classes you've taken or anything like that, I guess, but like what honor societies you're in, and if you're ever on the dean's list, like what semesters you were on the dean list. What else would be important to have on the resume? I honestly don't remember. Yeah, I mean, those would be the most important things. Like things that you wouldn't know from just looking at your transcript. So definitely want to put like all the different clubs that you were in, all of that stuff. But I will say, I don't think that the resume is super, super important. That's kind of just a way of seeing what your extracurricular activities were. Still make it look perfect and beautiful and amazing, but I would focus a lot more of your time on your letter of intent. So finally is going to be your interview. And this is where you seal the deal, guys. Okay, so not everybody gets an interview. You know that. This isn't even a part of the application because you already sent your application and paid for it and all that. So your interview is the school saying, okay, we like you. We're not sure yet. We don't really know what to expect, but we're gonna take you in and see if we like you even more. So this, don't want to make people nervous, and this is why I didn't want to make this video, but this kind of has to be like really, really perfect. Because this is why it has to be perfect. If you have the most beautiful application, 4.0, got like a highest score you can get on the GRE, you're just killing it in every aspect, you know, your letter of intent is amazing. The school's like, in their head, they're just like, we already know we want her, but we still have to interview her, right? If you come in for the interview and it's bad, the school's not gonna accept you. It doesn't matter how perfect your application was. If you don't have a good interview, they're like, no, because they're gonna have to see you every single day in school. They're gonna be teaching you. If they don't like your personality, they're not gonna accept you. And that doesn't really happen that often. Most people have good personalities. If you want to become an SLP, there's a good chance that you probably have a good personality. But I remember it was interview day at one of the schools I applied to, and I was just my happy-go-lucky self, and I was sitting next to this girl, and she was so serious. It was so weird. I don't know if she got in or not, but she was like super, super serious. And I was just like, hi, like, I'm Patrice, I'm from this and this place, like, what's your name, where are you from? I don't remember her name, so we'll just call her Megan. She was like, I'm Megan. And I'm like, oh, okay. There's no way you're gonna get in because you're so freaking serious. It was scary. And then I said something funny and she started laughing, and I'm like, oh, there's a personality in there, so just let that out and don't be weird. So yeah, this is an important time. So the most important thing I would tell you for your interview is be yourself. Don't go crazy with trying to prepare. You don't know what they're going to ask you, no matter how many interview questions you look at. And even if you do, you don't want your answers to be super rehearsed. I kind of went in there like almost blind. I'm not going to lie. I didn't really look like at like interview questions. I mean, we had a class where we practiced, but I wasn't going crazy over that. They asked me all different kinds of questions. I don't even really remember, to be honest with you. I think one of them was like, what's a time where you received constructive criticism and how did it change your perception? It's okay to say like, okay, do you mind just giving me a couple of seconds to just like gather my thoughts? It's okay to say that. I don't remember if I've ever said that during an interview, but that's definitely something I would say. I don't want to just give out word vomit. I want to think about what I'm going to say, you know? So yeah, I thought a lot about that. What else did they ask me? They just ask you about yourself. They just want to get to know you. I feel like this isn't something you should freak out too much. Even though it is like a really, really important like aspect of your application, if you rehearse it too much, it's so obvious, and you want to be yourself. You want to show who you are. So yeah, I don't recommend really getting too much into trying to figure out exactly what you're going to say before you go in there, because you don't know what they're going to ask you at the end of the day. And then the last piece of advice I would give is apply as early as you can. Once application's open, try to apply right then. Schools like to see that. And then also, you're gonna be like really, really going crazy the longer you hold on to this thing, you know? I think the earliest you can apply is usually like sometime in August, and like the latest you can apply is usually like January 1st or February 1st. And then some schools are different. I know some schools are like in April, but I don't know anything about those schools. But if you wait until like January when you could have applied in August, what's that, like 4 months of just freaking out and being nervous about something? Don't do that to yourself. Just get it out of the way. The only thing I will say is if you want your GPA to be a little bit higher before you apply, I would wait until the end of your first semester, because then it's going to look a little bit better if you're trying to get your GPA up. I did that, so. But yeah, I applied in January. I applied like usually like around New Year's Eve. And yeah, that's like all I really have to say. A lot of people wanted to know specifically what my GPA was and like what my GRE scores were. And I really have no problem telling you guys about that. I'm not like ashamed of it or anything. It just feels weird. Like maybe that's a little bit too much information, but I will tell you I had above a 3.5 and I had above the 50 percentile for the GRE. Yeah. I don't want to get too specific because I feel like that freaks people out, and I don't want to freak anybody out. It freaks people out. It makes you feel like if you don't have that exact score that you're not going to get in. You will get in. If you have a 3.3 and you have an amazing letter of intent and you have a great interview, you will get into grad school. I don't want people to be nervous about that. And there you go. I really did not want to make this video. Okay, so yeah, that's everything I have to say about that. I think that the fact that you care so much about getting in is just gonna be even that much better. I think that the people who've asked me about this are gonna be wonderful SLPs. I think the most important thing for you to do is kind of show why you want to be an SLP, what you plan on doing as one, what populations you want to work with, and why it's so important to you. You know, what is so touching about this? Because I do definitely know some people who are doing this not for the right reasons. A lot of people are talking about like the money and how much money they're gonna make, and yes, it's nice, like you are gonna have like a decent living. I'm not gonna try to pretend like that's not gonna happen. Like you will have like a good life, but is that the reason you're doing it? Because that definitely shouldn't be the reason, because you're not gonna make that much money. Let's keep it real, okay? So yes, hopefully that was helpful. If you have any more questions, you can email me. I think I have my email in the description bar or description box. I don't know what it's called. And then I also have my Instagram down there, so you can DM me if you want, if that's like a little bit more private for you. And then you can also just leave a comment down below if you don't really care if anybody else sees. But if you have any questions, please let me know. I really love talking about this stuff. The application process I didn't want to talk about just because I think that makes people nervous, and that's the last thing I want to do. But if you have any questions, please let me know. I am happy to answer. So yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.